Hi, everyone. My name is Devon. I work at the Worcester Public Library.
And I'm Joy, and I also work at the Worcester Public Library. What a coincidence.
Surprise! We're here today to talk to you about new releases for the month of December. So everything we're talking about, there is a catalog record for the print version. They might not have electronic versions as ebooks or downloadable audio yet, but keep your eyes peeled because these are well-reviewed books, and we anticipate that they will be available online soon. So I'm going to share my screen so that everyone can see the books we have picked out for them this month. And as usual, I'll be focusing on the fiction and Joy will do the nonfiction. Joy is actually starting us off today.
Well, my first choice for this month is A Killer by Design: Murderers, Mind Hunters, and My Quest to Decipher the Criminal Mind by Anne Wilbert Burgess. Well, clearly this one is tailor-made for true crime lovers this holiday season. Anne Wilbert Burgess is a forensic specialist and psychiatric nurse whose research into the criminal mind caught the attention of the FBI. Burgess pioneered the now commonly accepted idea that sexual violence has actually very little to do with sex and everything to do with power and domination. For 2 decades, she worked with the FBI's Behavioral Science Unit to identify, interview, and track down violent offenders, including the repulsive co-ed killer, Ed Kemper, and the equally repulsive BTK killer. Now, Devon, I don't know if there's a hierarchy among repulsive serial killers, but if there is, these two would be at the top.
I agree.
As one of the first women to enter the ranks of the FBI, many expected Burgess to crack under the pressure of delving into some of the darkest corners of the human experience, but she did not. She was determined to glean what she could from her research in order to protect potential victims. This book pulls us into Burgess's investigations by interweaving never-before-seen transcripts and crime scene drawings alongside her recollections in order to provide insight into how the mind of the murderer functions. Book Browse calls A Killer by Design haunting, heartfelt, and deeply human. And the most famous FBI profiler of them all, John Douglas, an admirer of Burgess's work, says that it is a page turner and a story that needs to be told. And I think her image is just so cool here. She looks sharp. She looks so smart.
I really like her sweater, I have to admit.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, here's my first pick. Beasts of a Little Land by Juhia Kim. And I apologize if I'm saying her name incorrectly. This one came out on December 7th. This book is the best book of December, according to Amazon. It's also recommended by USA Today, BuzzFeed, Goodreads, and Book Riot. Reviewers are saying this book brings to life the complex history of 20th century Korea. In 1917, in the snowy mountains of occupied Korea, a hunter on the brink of starvation saves a Japanese officer from an attacking tiger. In an instant, their fates are connected, and from this unfolds a saga. In the aftermath, a girl named Jade is sold by her family to Miss Silver's courtesan school, an act that will cement her place in the lowest social status. When she befriends an orphan boy named Jung Ho, who scrapes together a living on the streets of Seoul, they form a friendship. As they come of age, Jung Ho is swept up in the revolutionary fight for independence, and Jade becomes a performer with a romantic admirer of noble birth. Soon, she must decide whether she will risk everything for the one who would do the same for her. This story is mostly told from Jade's viewpoint, and the book got a starred review from both Kirkus and Booklist. Author Alexis Scheitkin said, "This book is a stunning chronicle of the Korean peninsula during the decades leading to independence and partition. Told through the lives of a rich cast of characters, it is by turns political and sensual, epic and intimate. It's also a profound meditation on place. Kim evokes the urban and natural landscapes of Korea with beauty. This novel will devastate you and then make you still with its wise meditations on love and loss." As many people know, I only learned my history from historical fiction. So I think this book sounds fantastic. I love the way that the characters, their stories are intertwined. There's also some beasts that are given sort of mythological proportions, which being a fantasy reader, I think would be excellent. And of course, it's getting rave reviews. So this one is definitely on my list.
And in this image, in this image, Korea looks like Alaska, so it's beautiful, but there's a swan in it. And I don't think that Alaska is characterized by its swan population.
Probably not, but it is a very nice photo.
Yes.
And here's another with Joy.
My next choice for this month is Agent Sniper, the Cold War super agent and the ruthless head of the CIA by Tim Tate. Michael Goleniewski, codenamed Sniper, was one of the most important spies active during the Cold War. For almost 3 years, operating as a lieutenant at the top of Poland's espionage service, he smuggled thousands of top secret Soviet bloc intelligence documents, as well as 160 rolls of microfilm from behind the Iron Curtain. Then in January of 1961, he abandoned his wife and children, and along with his East German mistress, fled across divided Berlin and into the West. Upon reaching safety in the United States, he exposed more than 1,000 secret agents operating undercover on behalf of the Soviet Union, more than any single spy in history. So happy ending, right? Well, maybe not for the wife and kids, and in the end, not for Goleniewski either. Although he was initially lauded for his work, it wasn't long before he ran afoul of the famous or infamous head of the CIA's counterintelligence division, the clinically paranoid James Jesus Angleton, not a nice man, but a wonderful spy name, who believed that most defectors, Goleniewski among them, were actually Soviet double agents. Suffice it to say, Sniper's fall from grace wasn't pretty. If you are one who enjoys tales of glamorous, death-defying spies in the mold of James Bond, this is not the book for you. Those willing to delve into the gritty world of intelligence agencies as they actually functioned, however, and perhaps still do, will find Agent Sniper riveting. Kirkus says that this book is fascinating dirty laundry from the early days of the CIA, and author Helen Fry calls it totally gripping, a masterpiece.
I think this is a really interesting story, how he did so much and then the CIA just turned on him.
They did. They just betrayed that guy. He did not live a happy life, let me put it that way.
Okay, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Here's my next pick. Tell Me How to Be by Neil Patel. This one also came out on December 7th. This book is also a best book of December, according to Amazon, and it's a highly anticipated title, according to Harper's Bazaar and Reader's Digest. It's recommended for fans of Jonathan Franzen's The Corrections. As the one-year anniversary of Renew's husband's death approaches, she's watching soap operas and simmering with resentment. She keeps wondering if, 35 years ago, she chose the wrong life. In Los Angeles, her 28-year-old son, Akash, tries to kickstart his songwriting career and commit to his boyfriend. When his mother tells him she is selling the family home and moving to London, Akash returns to Illinois. Together, they pack up the house, retreating further into the secrets between them. Renew sends a message to the man she almost married, sparking an emotional affair that calls into question everything she thought she knew about herself. Akash slips back into bad habits as he confronts his darkest secrets, including what happened between him and the first boy who broke his heart. Neil Patel explores Indian American characters who fight against stereotypes and the expectations of others. This book got a starred review from Publishers Weekly. The mother and son narrate their story to each other and to their respective first loves, letting readers see the similarities between them, even as they struggle to understand each other. Author Susie Yang said, "Once in a while, there comes a book that reminds us of why we read, to feel, to question, to grow. This is that book, a love letter to R&B, youth, and the unforgettable agonies of one's first love. The emotional truth of this family and their messy lives will leave you weeping and shattered. Okay, so it does sound a little bit like a sad story, but I do like that they pull in a lot of 90s R&B, and of course, Akash is a songwriter, so I'm guessing those two aspects are connected. And I think it's really interesting that the author puts these similarities between the two main characters who feel like they don't have a lot in common. I think that's probably an interesting twist for the story. So if you like complex family stories, this is probably one for you. Here's one from Joy.
Well, my final choice for this week is Call Us What We Carry, poems by Amanda Gorman. And I'm going to begin by quoting from Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. It is a truth universally acknowledged that nobody reads poetry anymore. That's not a quote, it's a paraphrase, but you get the point. True or not, many who do not actually read poetry thrill to hearing it read. I am old enough to remember hearing Robert Frost recite one of his poems at John F. Kennedy's inauguration on a bitter, cold day in January of 1961. And I remember when Maya Angelou read On the Pulse of the Morning in her mellifluous voice at Bill Clinton's first inaugural in 1993. But it could be argued both of these poets, great as they are, were eclipsed nearly a year ago when 22-year-old Amanda Gorman stood to read The Hill We Climb at the Biden inauguration. How excited we were, how moved. In Call Us What We Carry, which was formerly entitled The Hill We Climb, Gorman, Youth Poet Laureate of the United States and the youngest inaugural poet ever, captures, in the words of PW, a shipwrecked moment in time and transforms it into a lyric of hope and healing. Gorman explores history, identity, language, and erasure through an imaginative and intimate collage. Harnessing the collective grief of a global pandemic, this luminous body of work shines a light on a moment of reckoning. So even if you don't ordinarily read poetry, this may be the perfect time and the perfect season in which to make an exception and pick up Call Us What We Carry.
I agree with that. And I also think it's interesting because after she gave the inaugural poem, it seemed like poetry just had a rebirth. Overall.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was wonderful to watch that happen.
It really was. All right, here's my last choice. Bright Burning Things by Lisa Harding, another December 7th release. Harding is an Irish writer and a retired actress, and this is her US debut. Bright Burning Things is said to be as harrowing and intense as Shuggie Bain, which was winner of the 2020 Booker Prize. In Bright Burning Things, Sonia used to perform on stage. She attended glamorous parties, dated handsome men, rode in fast cars. But somewhere along the way, the stage lights Sonia lived for dimmed to black. In their absence came darkness, blackouts after drinking, hazy nights, empty cupboards. Haunted by her failed career and trauma from her childhood, Sonia fell deep into an alcoholic abyss. What kept her from losing herself was Tommy, her 4-year-old son. But her love for Tommy rivaled her love for the bottle. Addiction amplified her fear of losing her child. Every maternal misstep compelled her to drink. Eventually, Sonia had to make a choice: give up drinking or lose Tommy forever. So in the story, after an intervention from her father, Sonia is checked into a rehab run by nuns, and she's put into the 12-step program, which of course she resists, but there is some humor around that storyline as well. This book got a starred review from Publishers Weekly, who said, "This unflinching portrait of a troubled, tender soul takes readers to the depths of the human heart." Author Lisa Tadeo said, "On every page there are little shimmering bombs, like Room, where parenthood is at once your jail and your salvation. It is almost claustrophobic, but in the most glorious way." So I would like to wish everyone a bright new year, hopefully not burning, just bright. And that brings us to the end of our episode for today. Don't forget to give us some likes and loves if you've enjoyed our video, and to share this with your friends who are looking for another great book. Otherwise, thanks for watching.
See you later, fellow readers.